Hello and welcome to this episode of the Work in Progress podcast. I am your host, Colleta Macharia, and I'm very delighted that you could join me once again in the Work in Progress podcast. Now, the age that we are living in has been referred to as the information age. Access to and sharing of information is a defining characteristic of the times that we are living in. It's like being in a large buffet where you have all sorts of food and the only thing that limits you is the size of your plate. So the beauty of having all this information available to us is that we have options. We can pick and choose and take what works for us and leave out what does not work. And so as I wind up this series on achieving our goals and achieving our New Year's resolutions, I want to share something that I think is really cool. And this is about minding your steps. My encouragement to you is that whatever steps you have chosen to take, pace yourself. Do not be under pressure because you have your own journey. And so there is a time and a season for every activity under heaven. There's a time to step up and there's a time to step down. There's a time to take action and there's a time to take a pause. It's not always about doing and being on the move always. It's important, like we shared in a previous episode, to take time to be still, to take time and reflect and analyze things and see, where am I going? Am I still on the right path? Do I need to course correct before I move forward? So don't be afraid to take that pause and reflect. There's a time to enter and there's a time to exit. And often the strategies that we use to enter a certain space are not necessarily the same strategies that we use to exit. So it's important to pause and consider whether you're entering a space or exiting and what strategies are appropriate for where you're at and where you're going. There's a time to pull and there's a time to push. Sometimes we're very keen to push out our ideas, our opinions and perspectives. But it's important also to realize that sometimes we need to work on strategies that help us attract, pull, rather than push. There's a time to splurge and there's a time to skimp. You know what? It's easy to believe or to fall into the trap of believing that there isn't enough opportunity, that there aren't enough resources for everyone. And that scarcity mentality can have us thinking small or not making the steps that we need to make to enlarge our territory. And so it's important to consider whether we're just going with the flow and speaking the language of lack, or whether we really notice where there is abundance and take time to faithfully and generously share as appropriate. So whatever steps you choose to take, I wish you all the best. Keep shining and see you on the next episode. The Work in Progress podcast is brought to you by Cogent Afrique. Visit www.cogentafrique.com to check out learning and development opportunities for you, your team, organization, and family.